I asked Mr. Thorne how the movement to create a local community college got started. He spoke about Mr. John Winship's involvement, the obstacles that the supporters of the new college faced, and how he ended up becoming the first president. So you're considered to be the founder. Former spring superintendent John Winship is considered to be the visionary. How did the founding of North Harris County College begin, and how did you get involved in it?
Well, one of the first community meetings that I attended after I became superintendent was a group that was called the Tomball Good Roads Committee. And at that meeting, the subject of a junior college came up. Those of us who were in public education, the superintendents of the district, found ourselves in a position of opposing the organization of a junior college because we simply did not have the financial base to support a junior college. When I became superintendent all day, there was not a bank in the district. There was not a department store in the district. There was not a motel in the district. It was all single-family residence. And you can't support a junior college on that basis. And so the superintendents found ourselves in a position of saying, let's wait until time comes. Well, in 1972, I believe it was, we got serious about the junior college, and John Winship was the one who was really pushing the hardest about it. And John Winship never did put it in his words, but I think I'm reading it correctly. Spring was a little bitty school system, and he couldn't afford the vocational programs for his high school students. And he saw the junior college as a way to provide the technical facilities for Spring high school students. So John's push really was to create a community college that had a good vocational program so that Spring high school kids could have that advantage. And in fact, the first year we were on campus out there, we had a class in auto mechanics made up entirely of Spring high school students. Well, when the group began to get serious about organizing junior college, first thing that happened was Doc Landrum, who was superintendent of schools in Spring Branch, led a group that was attempting to organize a county-wide junior college district after the pattern of Dallas County. Well, that's not the time for us in North Harris County to start talking about a small junior college to take care of our needs. So the group collectively agreed, informally, that we would support the county-wide system. And in fact, when the vote was carried, it carried in Spring and Aldine, Clyde, and Humble, but it didn't carry in Houston. Houston people opposed it, I think, because it was headed by Doc Landrum from Spring Branch instead of being at Houston. It had been a Houston superintendent pushed it, they would have probably supported it, but it didn't. So it failed. Well, while we were waiting for that to cool off a little bit, before we started to do for the junior college again, Dr. Garver, who was superintendent of schools at Houston, made the headlines on the Chronicle. Houston is going to have a community college without any taxes. We'll meet in the area high schools at night and have a junior college that won't cost anything. Well, that's not a good time to start talking about creating a new taxing jurisdiction. So we pulled back and waited for that to cool off a little bit. And finally, in the fall of 1942, Quicker, 1972, I guess. The Aldine School Board hosted a dinner meeting for the superintendents of Aldine, Sprague, Clyde, and Humboldt. And as I remember, the superintendent and president of the board were all invited. And out of that meeting grew the creation of a steering committee to get serious about organizing a community college. And so it included the 4 school systems. We got busy and did all the demographics, which involved projections on student enrollment and financial projections and all things that the state requires. And since Aldine was the largest of the 4 systems and I had a bigger staff than the rest of them did, we wound up by doing most of the legwork and consolidating and coordinating all that effort. Just as we got it all done, the people in Tomball said, "Oh, wait a minute. If y'all going to create a junior college, we'd like to be included." Fine. So we go back and do all the demographics all over again, including 5 districts. Well, we had no sooner completed that study than one of the board members in Klein found out that if Klein was a part of the group and the election carried as a group, Klein was included, even though Klein, as a school system, those boxes may not have voted for the junior college. And so they said, "Wait a minute, we're going to have a straw vote on Klein to decide whether we want to be in the group or not." And it wasn't publicized, and so it was defeated. So when Klein pulled out, Tomball was not contiguous with the rest of it, so they pulled out. So I go back and do the demographics a 3rd time for Aldine, Sprague, and Humboldt. And the vote was, when it finally got to a vote, it was overwhelmingly approved. One of the small boxes in Aldine was not a negative vote cast on the election. And so then we had a junior college in name, but not much else.
But can I ask about this? That you gave a great rundown of how it got started, but I know it wasn't easy to get it started. So what political, if I could ask you, what political obstacles did you face as part of getting this started?
You know, when we finally got to calling the election, we really didn't have any organized opposition. I drew a deep breath every 2 or 3 times, because I was afraid that the University of Houston would see the creation of a junior college as competition to them, and I was afraid that they were going to come out and openly in opposition. In fact, there was an article in one of the papers, the Post, I believe, that almost hinted that they might be opposed to it. But no opposition developed. We really didn't have any opposition. Of course, we worked through the parent-teacher organization and through the band parents club and the community groups that were pro-school anyway, and so we really didn't have any organized opposition to creating the college. The election that created the college, set the tax rate at 10 cents per 100 evaluation, elected 2 board members from Humboldt, 2 from Sprague, and 3 from Aldine, and approved a bond issue for $7.5 million, as I recall, to buy a site and build the first part of the campus.
So as I was reading the history of Lone Star College, I came across some testimony that you gave in June of 1972 at a meeting. I believe it was the state coordinating board. Now I'm going to read it to you, see if you recall, may help to recall that meeting. It bothers me, I'm quoting you, it bothers me tremendously that about 60% of our young people terminate their education at high school. The cost of education is a major factor in this situation. I'm convinced that if we have a community college close at hand, more youngsters can stay at home and be at the entrance to the college in 15 minutes. To create that, a college can be located that is close to our needs. I'm convinced that if this program is approved by our application for a community college, we'll see that the voters approve it. It will be the biggest step forward in the education of boys and girls for North Harris County in my lifetime.
Did I say that?
Yes, sir.
That sounds pretty good.
End quote. That's what it said. End quote.
And of course, that actually was the attitude of the communities that created the junior college.
And it says that the steering committee spent a whole year compiling data with the requirements of the state of Texas. Let me ask this: what was the most difficult part of creating the college?
Well, I guess the most difficult thing was trying to avoid tripping over your own feet, because nobody, and I mean nobody, had any experience at all in trying to organize a college. We started out with no concept at all about what the state requirements were. If it hadn't been for a lot of good help from the people in Austin, we never would have done it. Trying to remember what the guy's name was that later was president of Tomball College, that was with the coordinating board that kind of held our hand when we were going through all the rigmarole and that you have to comply with the regulations. But we had some good help from the coordinating board, is what I'm saying.
So when you approached the coordinating board, they basically received you very well.
They were enthusiastic. They were enthusiastic in their support, because they looked at the North Harris County area and saw the growth and saw the potential, and they saw that the financial resources were there, and that was different from a lot of the people that they were working with that were from little communities that really didn't have the wherewithal to support one. And so we had nothing but support from the coordinating board from the word go.
So originally it was supposed to be Aldine, Spring, Humble, Klein, and Tomball ISD. Then of course Klein pulled out, and because Tomball is not contiguous, then Tomball had to pull out. So it ended up being Aldine, Spring, and Humble. And on October 7th, 1972, an election was held, and the voters, they approved the creation of North Harris County Junior College with the $6.5 million bond, and the board was elected. And 5 days later, not even the whole week, 5 days later, the first board meeting took place at
Aldine Administration Building.
Why Aldine?
Well, because we had a boardroom and the facilities, and Aldine as the system had kind of taken the lead, and it was kind of a natural thing. I guess the main reason was my secretary at Aldine was also the secretary for the temporary secretary for the college board, since they didn't have any employees. She volunteered to take the minutes and do all that sort of thing. So it was kind of natural for them to meet in our boardroom.
So at that first board meeting, from my research, I understand that various subcommittees were established, and one of those had the task of finding the president. So
I was not at that meeting, so I don't know.
Okay. How did it come to you that, hey, I might apply for the presidency?
Well, I had a job at Aldine. I had a good job, had a good staff. the bad days from the 1950s are way behind us. And I really wasn't interested in applying for the job at junior college. One of the board members came to me and said, "Thorne, we don't have your application. Aren't you going to apply for the board?" And I said, "Well, I hadn't really thought about it much." "Well, I think you ought to apply." And so I did. And but I really was not campaigning for the job. When the board interviewed me, I told the board, I said, "Now, fellas, I've got a good job. Don't need to leave. I'm happy where I am. But being a part of creating a new institution is exciting." I said, "But there's something you ought to know. If you want to buy a Ford automobile, you go to a Ford dealer. If you want to buy a Chevrolet, you go to a Chevrolet dealer. I can tell you how I operate. If that's what you want, fine. If it's not, then it's been nice visiting with you." So if you want to set the policy, set the goals, and then hold the administration's feet to the fire to get it done, then I'd be interested. If you want somebody to answer the telephone, I'm not interested. And so I got elected.
So November 30th, 1972. That's when it...
Well, I actually went to work on January 1, 1973. Mm-hmm. And then the fun started. Mm-hmm. Stop and think about this a minute. We had created the college. We're in the process of trying to recruit staff. But I don't have a tax rate, don't have a tax roll because the taxes are not mailed out till next October. This is January 1973. I don't have any tax income until October. The legislature's in session and they appropriate money, but won't have any appropriation from the state until next year. So I got a college, but no way to finance it. No funds.
So if I may ask you this question. You left the superintendency of Aldine and took the presidency of a brand new junior college that didn't have a budget. Mm-hmm. Did you take a pay cut?
No. In fact, I got a pay raise. I went from $27,000 a year to $30,000 a year.
How did they pay you if they didn't have a budget? Or any employee?
Didn't have any source of income. Well, as superintendent of schools at Aldine, I had a long-standing relationship with South Main State Bank out on South Main. And the bank agreed to give us a $1 million line of credit at 3% interest. And this was during the Carter years when the interest rates were up 17% in places. And the bank saw the future of the school system, of the college, and they knew it was going to be a good account, and so they made some real concessions. They set aside $1 million for us, and as I drew money out of that account, I started paying interest on what I had drawn out. I didn't pay interest on any of it until I actually drew it out, but I had $1 million line of credit. And so we operated on that line of credit until the fall of 1973, when we began to get some revenue. With that $1 million, we bought the site that the North Harris County campus is on. We hired a beginning staff. We hired an architect and began work on designing the building. On good faith of South Main Bank, on South Main loaning us money on the good faith of the college.
Is that bank still there?
No. Well, I don't think it is.
So when you left the superintendency at Aldine, this came as a surprise to the board, did it not?
Yes.
Was it sudden that you resigned? There was no, it was just, here's my resignation and that's it?
No, I don't remember the details of it, but I had a real good working relationship with the 7 members on my board at Aldine. And I didn't pull any surprises on them. Not on that or anything else.
So no hard feelings?
Pardon?
No hard feelings?
No, I don't think so. Because the major part of our evening classes were in high schools, and 95% of them were at Aldine Senior High School. So the school system was extremely helpful to us at the college.